Hello, everyone. My Representative Malinowski, and he's here, of the 7th District, the rest of our Congress representatives, senators, fellow speakers, and guests. Thank you for having me here to speak to you today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to demonstrate to you why the opportunity to be healthy, to be a healthy parent, and to be able to advance in higher education starts with a safe, accessible, and affordable home. I will submit to you that housing is a right, housing is health care, housing is a matter of child welfare, and that housing was my education. And as I share pieces of my personal story as an authentic voice, I hope that my legislatures are moved to vote for policies that increase funding on affordable housing, because behind such are many single parents who are thus enabled through the aid of such funding to maintain a roof over their children's heads who would not otherwise have been able to in our current capitalist free market system where wages do not pay enough to sustain the cost of living. To not vote to increase such funding would perpetuate stories such as mine. My name is Fedeli. I am a single mother to my beautiful 20-month-old girl, Christiana Grace Fedeli. I am an employee of the state of New Jersey, the Office of the Public Defender. I'm in the drug court unit. I handle expungements for the entire state. I'm also earning my master's degree and a graduate certificate. I am a member of organizations that advocate for those experiencing economic instability and for those who suffer from a diagnosis of substance abuse disorder. I am beginning my own organization that will advocate for single parents living in poverty as well. As I share some of my accomplishments and involvements at present, you may not think that it has only been just a year and 3 months ago that I was finally able to acquire permanent housing for me and my baby girl. And thus to start my accomplishments that I have just listed. It was only just a year and a half ago that I was homeless with my 2-month-old in January of 2018, the middle of the winter, not knowing where I was going to go night to night with my baby girl. I will share an overview of my experience with housing insecurity from January of 2018 to April of 2018. I was a candidate for my Master's of Social Work the school year of 2017 to 2018. I was repeatedly turned away from all types of agencies that administer social service programs. And to note, they were not nice when they did it. I was turned away by Hunterdon County Social Services. I was told that there will be no shelter for you because my address on a bank account did not match Hunterdon County. I called Middlesex County and they said they could put me on a waiting list for a homeless shelter in the dead of winter. And I went to Hunterdon Family Promise and they said that they were overwhelmed and they could not help me. And it wasn't until 5 months later that I was able to acquire assistance for permanent housing through their agency. Homefront didn't even call me back until months later just to tell me I didn't earn enough to be a candidate to receive aid for security deposit and rent. The waiting list for Section 8 was closed at the time, and I was not able to get on the waiting list until the summer of 2018, which was a few months into my already having acquired permanent housing. And I would still be on the waiting list today had I not mailed the paperwork in a couple days late. Even when I acquired permanent housing, if it was not for the generosity of people at my church, I would have been homeless again. As I was a former employee of DCPUP at the time, and I earned just over the income caps to receive any social welfare aid, but I did not earn enough income with my salary to pay for all of my and my daughter's basic necessities. I was always in a constant $800 deficit every single month. And parent locate services rendered by social services could not officially locate my daughter's father to get him to pay child support for 8 months. So I originally went in June of 2018, and it wasn't until this past January of 2019 that I was able to get him in a courtroom to help contribute to child support. So these external factors really affected my health, my parenting, and my education. Housing is healthcare. In April 2018, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression. I believe that postpartum depression was exacerbated and may have been avoided if I had all my basic necessities. housing being one of them. Instead of my having to fight a system that failed me over and over when I was at my weakest, right after having a cesarean section and my daughter having been in the NICU for the first 3 weeks of her life, following a year of not knowing whether she would respond to the treatment. But she's alive and well, she's overcoming. She is not even in the average of her developmental, she is far exceeding a miracle baby. Housing is a matter of child welfare. I do not have to explain how much postpartum depression puts a child at risk. I am fortunate to have a social work background, and thus I knew how to manage my symptoms so my child was safe. But I have a suspicion that after working for DCP&P, my child may have been at risk to be removed had I not been hired at my current employment, now where I am, being able to afford all of my basic necessities. Economic instability is a risk factor that I saw over and over again. I had to draft litigation against parents, but we are not adequately addressing it at a systemic level. The Department of Children and Families does not have enough brevity and weight to take on that systemic issue, so we all need to come together and address this, because behind us not addressing it, there are children suffering. Because my housing was my education, because my postpartum depression became so severe, my doctor gave me and my former institution's orders for me to immediately cease all work and for me to complete the work over the summer. I only had 2 reflection papers and a presentation for a research paper. Not hard at all, but I couldn't concentrate, and I don't need to explain the rest of the symptoms of postpartum depression. My former institution did not heed my doctor's orders and instead chose not to allow me accommodation, thus failing me out of my program. Of course, I understand this is a breach of Title IX and I'm pursuing the complaint, but for our purposes here, I make this point because I believe if I had housing, I would have never acquired such a bad case of postpartum depression and thus never have needed the extension. So I asked my legislatures to vote on 2 policies. One, to support an increase for the funding for the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Grants, helps Americans experience homelessness to receive adequate outreach, shelter, transitional housing, supporting services, rent subsidies, and permanent housing. And 2, to protect and expand the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program to help connect families to areas of opportunity with access to well-paying jobs, good schools, healthcare, and transit, and Section 8 Choice Vouchers, which subsidize low-income people across the country and have been proven to reduce childhood poverty, stabilize families, and contribute to healthy communities. Opportunity begins with a safe, accessible, and affordable home. Affordable housing is a right, housing is healthcare, housing is a matter of child welfare, and housing was my education. My legislatures, please heed me and my baby's story. Your votes matter, and have the power to ensure that single mothers and fathers who come after me have a better story to tell. They have a better chance to maintain their health. Their children will have a better odds of being safe, and if applicable, a better chance to be successful at their educational endeavors. Thank you.